reactions to the shooting in Minnesota yesterday have been absolutely wild. We have so many people saying the opposite things than what they ever previously established they believe. We have a lot of people, especially on the conservative side, that are now saying the guy deserved to get shot because he had a gun, or he went to a protest with a gun, and he shouldn't have pulled a gun out on someone, especially not a federal agent. This is extra ridiculous because, one, it's an objective fact that he didn't pull out a gun. He didn't. This never happened. Second of all, if you point that out, then say, well, he shouldn't have had a gun. Well, what happened to the Second Amendment? This is what these same exact people have been talking about the entire time. You know, every other time there's some sort of self-defense shooting, even if it's a little bit sketchy, they say, hey, Second Amendment. And they weren't wrong at the time. That's not the point of this. They were right. The problem is they're wrong now. Now, apparently, the Second Amendment is a problem. Now, if you have a gun, you were asking for it. Now, if you have a gun, it shows intent. Well, why did he have a gun in the first place? There's people straight up saying only a criminal would have had a gun. They're saying he must have gone there looking for trouble because he had a gun. This is extra ironic because this man, as seen and as more footage has come out, has become more obviously known. He did nothing wrong, and he was defending a civilian. The clear footage, I'll post it right now, actually. Let's watch it real quick.
Whoa!
The footage to me tells everything very obviously. The shooting victim saw a woman getting shoved very aggressively, as we can see. Completely inappropriate response from the ICE agent in reaction to just being filmed. We see him shove the woman, and the man gets in the way a little bit. I was saying even from the first video, just from the first far away view video, I thought it looked like the man just threw his hand in the air. He just kind of distanced them maybe. He kind of just got in the way. I didn't think he hit anyone or punched anyone, but now we have clear footage of this. He did not hit anyone, not even a vague smack. He kind of did exactly what I thought he did. He got in between, he got pepper sprayed, and he raised his hand in the air in response to pepper spray, logically blocking his face. So what's so ironic about this is a case of self-defense, and this is a case of a civilian standing up for another civilian in a case of tyranny. What's so funny is the same people who used to champion 2A rights online would always say stuff like this. They would say it was in self-defense of themselves or another. This is a clear case of that, except even more ironically, it's even more open and shut because he didn't even pull out the weapon. He didn't even pull out the gun. He just had it. So this person actually stood in defense of another person and was defending someone else and then would have been defending himself, but he wasn't even. And they're acting like this person went out of their way to cause trouble. Not only did he not seem to cause trouble, it seemed like he was stopping it, it seemed like he was mediating at the very worst. This case is getting more upsetting with every single piece of evidence out there. It's even getting, once again, the reactions are just wild. They're just so inappropriate. So many people cheering that someone was killed by a federal agent. That's not okay ever. Never mind someone that didn't even threaten anyone or pull out the weapon. I have maybe never seen more goalposts moving in a single story in my entire life. First they're saying he pulled out a gun on them. Then you point out, actually he never pulled out the gun. And then they say, well, he shouldn't have had it on him. Then when you point out he never pulled out his gun, they say, well, that he shouldn't have hit anyone and then been caught with the gun because it shows his violent intent. Well, now we know he didn't hit anyone. Then they say, well, he shouldn't have actively stopped an arrest. Ends up he wasn't doing that either. You point out that he just got it in between an agent and a woman who was seemingly being pushed just for filming the incident, which, by the way, is a protected right of the people. You then point that out, and they say, well, he shouldn't have touched him. What's the agent supposed to think? They were probably scared too. They could have thought he was some leftist lunatic that was going to kill them. Well, then new angles come out, and you point that out, and you show he didn't lay a hand on him, period. He kind of just took mace to the face. And then they say, well, he shouldn't have reached for his gun once he was on the floor. More footage comes out. It's 7 guys on top of one. He's completely subdued. Another agent even already took the gun, and then they shoot him. And they say, well, he shouldn't have been resisting. More footage comes out, shows he wasn't resisting at all. He could barely get up. He was completely tag teamed. And then they say, well, the gun went off. Yeah, things happen, it sucks, but the gun went off and it was very confusing for all the agents. It's an unfortunate situation. And then you point out, well, why did they not communicate? You're telling me one of the agents disarmed him, walked away with the gun, never communicated this, no one said anything on the radio, none of the other 6 noticed this happen or cared, and then they just shoot a guy in the back, and like no one noticed this. No one's trained to identify who is or isn't an active threat. Very best case scenario, it shows that these agents just do not seem to have sufficient training and they are in over their heads, and this is not going too well. Worst case scenario, we have a bunch of bullies pushing women and then killing people who get in the middle of it. It's just wild because I don't know why they can't admit that. It's just making their own cause look bad. Just say out loud, just say, oh no, this is such a tragedy, it's so unfortunate, I hope this never happens again. The end. But all this propaganda and outrage and just blatant lies and goalpost moving and victim blaming just makes the whole entire thing look bad. I sure am seeing it as worse, and I'm sure a lot of people are too. And I think the most suspicious thing is that even Democrats who, should be coming out against just like the tyranny going on right now, I'm seeing more Democrat accounts with huge amount of following, for some reason pointing out, look at all the libertarians who are doing nothing and saying nothing. Look at all the libertarians who pretend to care about Second Amendment rights. Look at all the libertarians that were fake libertarians all along. One, I'm barely seeing that. Just the usual suspects, the usual paid people who no libertarians have really respected since the last election. But the fact that Democrat pages seem to be so stern on, for some reason, pulling in, only one day after a man died, pulling in a group that has been consistent on this. They're on both sides when government overreach happens from either side. This is a consistent group of people for the most part. And to see that this somehow being the focus only one day after a man lost his life is pretty concerning, because not only are they not responsible or involved, mostly good on this issue, they mostly agree that this is government overstepping and this shouldn't have happened. So the fact that they're doing this and then the Republican accounts are doing it too, so many are specifically going after libertarians. They're saying they're communist traitors and whatnot. They're basically Democrats. I'm seeing a weird amount of energy and effort being put into smearing independents or third parties that have been consistent on this issue on both sides. And I think it's to kind of just make both major parties, both major groups, it's making both groups see them as discredited. It's making both groups not want to listen to them, even though I think this is the answer. I think the answer is very obvious. This government overstep, period. A civilian should not be getting killed by a federal agent. I think the media is very desperate to spin this narrative. They really need the people online to not talk about how this is wrong. They really want to pin this as Democrats are trying to hurt federal agents. Libertarians are endorsing this, which they're not. They're just saying someone shouldn't have died. No one's saying to go attack people. That is, I will say that right now. They want the Republicans to just shut this down. They want the Republicans to say, hey, if you get in their way, you could die. And if you really want to go the conspiracy theorist route, I would almost think that they're sabotaging their own thing here. It's almost as if the Trump administration is too cowardly to just say, hey, we're done with the ICE stuff. We don't want to bother our billionaire donors. We don't want to take away their cheap labor. And if that was their point, it backfired. It seems like they're going to win either way, because either this gets cheered on and now the government gets to get away with hurting civilians, which is what's happening, or they disapprove of it and Trump gets to go, hey, we're gonna pull back on this a bit. Either way, they win. And I think they know that. I think a lot of times there's a big story, they kind of plant it that way, right? The positive outcome is good for them, the negative outcome is good for them. Either way, they can spin it a certain direction. It's really weird seeing people come up with headcanon for this. The man was a VA nurse, and there's videos of him giving a great farewell speech or a memorial speech for a veteran at the hospital. The family he did this for is very touched by it. It really doesn't seem like he was someone looking for trouble, but it seems like every other account on here, especially the propaganda ones, are just digging into everything they can to try to plant a narrative. And when you start planting a narrative retroactively, like saying, he came here with the gun looking for trouble, he had it on him because he was going to kill someone, he was planning this all along. Once you start planning it retroactively, that's when you usually know this is like some sort of propaganda, right? Because they have to paint the story after the fact. They are trying to find puzzle pieces that don't fit and smush them in until they fit. It doesn't even matter what evidence comes out. They're just going to bash those puzzle pieces in and force them to fit. I think the story is horrible no matter what way you put it, but after seeing the view from the person in the car filming this happen, I think it became extra clear that this man did not harm anyone, and the reaction from the agent was just completely inappropriate, and it just escalated and escalated and escalated until something tragic happened, and I wish more people could see that. Today's been a tough day. A lot of people like me got a lot of heat just for being consistent on this. People accusing us of not being consistent either. You know, we're getting the comments from the people who don't seem to understand that some people really do have consistent values and they're not like aligned to a party. They're saying stuff like, where were you during lockdowns? Where were you during this? And it's pretty funny because they don't even fact check this. Like if they looked at most of our pages, they would see that, no, we're consistent on this. This isn't some sort of left versus right propaganda, civil war nonsense trying to distract from the uni party or whatnot. We're real on this. You can't make this up. You can't gaslight us into not believing what we already believe. You can't, once again, more headcanon. They're just planning stuff and just thinking it sticks. I have a theory that most people online seem to think that one person equates to everyone. Like, if they think you're a Democrat, you're every Democrat they've ever talked to. If they think you're an independent, you're every independent they've ever talked to. They just have this little like schema of a person in their mind, and they just reenact arguments from the past. They don't care about the words of the person they're talking to right now. They're just stuck in that mindset. They're just stuck fighting ghosts. They're fighting ghosts of Twitter's past. They're just fighting with users that aren't even here. I don't think anyone should do that. You know, look at what the person's saying, hear them out, reply appropriately, go from there. These need to be real civil conversations and debates. You need to take every person as an individual and hear them out. You can't just make up stuff. But yeah, I'm seeing a lot of hypocritical takes. It's probably one of the most disappointing parts of this, other than someone losing their life and seeing overreach from agents in the first place. This is pretty concerning, but I think the other worst part is just all this hypocrisy online. It's not going to help. It's not going to help anyone. I hope the Republicans are ready to tank in the polls even more. They're going to get obliterated in the midterms, and even worse, they're just going to make the Democrats even more mad. And if they start winning and getting more power again, they are going to come back for vengeance. They are not thinking the big picture, and all I can do is say, hey, Democrats, sounds like they deserve it a bit, but don't start making up this headcanon that the independents and the libertarians and the centralists are against you. They weren't. So don't come out for everyone's blood when you inevitably get more power. With that said, I hope that's not the case. I would hope most people are understanding that both sides aren't good. Seems like nothing changes no matter who wins. The same agendas end up getting pushed, just kind of with the different font, red or blue text. So I hope that's not the case. I hope we as a people can just wake up more, figure out our priorities, do whatever we can to protect people from the government and any other nefarious characters, and just kind of get over this like imaginary battle that's completely made by the media fanning the flames. But not just the media in like an entertainment sense, but like the characters that control the media, the special interests and the donors and the politicians that are paid by them. But what do you guys think? Let me know. Have your opinion changed since yesterday? What do you think about the new videos that have come out? Just let me know.